Was she gonna miss the trap? He didn't miss the trap. It still clipped him. The excitement, not gonna get a hit though. That vault speed just barely saved him.
So man, this boy, bro. Get him!
Oh!
Here, but ooh,
Great body block on the mercenaries, and we did see that blink come out.
Okay, I think we are live. Hey everybody, welcome to the second match of today. I am Bones, very happy to be returning with my wonderful friend Joey.
Hello, I'm Joey, and I'm also very excited to be returning after it's been a very long time, actually, since the last time I've been on here commentating, but I'm very excited to get back into it.
Yeah, we have a couple of super exciting matches in store for us today. We are going to be watching Vice Versa versus QNY, both very, I would say, I guess, more legacy teams, experienced, have a lot of tourney experience, have a lot of experience together as teams. I think we actually saw both of them in last Checkmate, if I'm not mistaken, and QNY has definitely been around for a while, so very excited to see what we have in store for us with teams that are mainstays in the NAU scene.
Absolutely. Very excited to see what they're going to pull out the bag. I mean, especially when we're seeing two teams that have been around before, it's going to be a lot of fun to see what they're going to bring to the table against one another when is this their first time going up against one another? I'm not 100% sure, but at the very least not their first time in Checkmate.
Yeah, it's definitely their first time going up against each other in this tournament. I don't know, overall, they've probably played each other before, even if off-stream in a scrim, something along those lines. I would say it's more likely that we're looking at teams that are familiar with each other. But yeah, we are getting some hints at lineups, I would say. Yeah, we're going... Well, I guess I'll just wait for the usernames, because a lot of the times the usernames don't match up with their Discord usernames, and makes it a little bit more difficult to follow along, both for us and for you guys. So, yeah, I'm definitely really excited to see what we have in store. It does look like these teams do follow a little bit more along the main meta, so we're gonna be looking at some opera singer, I would say, it's safe to say.
Yes, I mean, I would be shocked if we did not see any opera singer coming out today. And it's been a very exciting, interesting change in the meta. She was fairly new when Checkmate first started this autumn, and obviously still fairly new, but I would say people are getting more used to her. Like she's certainly more of a less of a shock now, but still just the meta, something that is still scary to go up against. So it'll be interesting to see how the teams are going to be sort of incorporating in their counters, essentially, because as she is the meta, most teams will be considering what picks to have to go up against her.
Yeah, especially in this first round where we're not looking at any hunter bans. We are starting to get some of those map bans and picks in here. We've got Arms Factory being the banned map. Pretty understandable. And it looks like we're going to be going on Sacred Heart Hospital for our first map. That's a little bit interesting. I honestly would have expected to see Hospital picked later. It's not
Yeah,
usually a first round map, but it's a very aggressive first round map pick. Really wanted to get those survivors on the table.
absolutely. I mean, Sacred is not a map to take lightly. With that massive hospital, with just the space and all the kiting areas, I feel like aggressive first map is certainly a good way to describe it. Um, so yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what our teams have up their sleeves with this one.
Me too. And also, I just want to say hi to everybody in the chat. Hi, Jupiter. Hi, Mango Tea. Hi, S. Hi, Mixie. Thank you guys for commentating earlier. Go back and watch the previous stream after you're done with this one, of course. Please stay live. But if you missed the stream before, don't leave.
Actually,
But if you
Bones
missed,
just wants you all to leave right now.
yeah, get out of here. Get out of here. But yeah, if you guys missed the earlier stream, Mixie and S were commentating that. They're awesome. And also if you missed the stream yesterday, that was DTM and Galia did an awesome job commentating as well. We do have commentary for all of the streams now, which is super cool and fun, and I'm very excited about it.
Yes,
So make sure to catch up on those.
yes, every stream now will have commentary, which is very exciting. Um, reason not wasn't the case so far, I believe, was because this has been a longer tournament. So now we're kind of getting into the real sort of nitty gritty of it all. That is where we're coming in a bit more frequently nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am with the opera singer picks, I feel like we haven't really seen a lot of opera singer on Sacred Heart, so it'll kind of be interesting. Something that's been interesting, I've been watching a lot of overseas tournament, which I feel like everybody who's been around me kind of knows that already because I haven't shut up about it. But it's been opera singer pretty much every first round. Every single first round
Mhm.
has been opera singer, and it's been kind of a playground to see like what works, what doesn't work against her. Um, and I don't think we've seen Sacred Heart Hospital, or at least we haven't seen much of Opera Singer with Sacred Heart
No,
Hospital.
it's certainly not the first map of choice for her, but we are going to start seeing the bans and picks coming through now. On the side of our vice versa hunter, we will be seeing the mercenary and the acrobat banned.
Kind of an interesting first couple of bands here. Once again, with the new band pick system, the first two survivors in every match will be locked out. So yeah, I would say that the vice versa hunter really just does not want to see those. But it's interesting to see the acrobat picked out. And yeah, already we are going to see priestess and magician locked in as these first two picks. Getting that priestess out here is going to be so valuable for QNY in this first round. And they also picked hospital. So they picked hospital and they get their priestess on hospital. That's looking very good for QNY right off the bat here.
And if I am not mistaken, do correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe magician is a good counter up against the opera singer.
Yep.
So yay, I got it right. But hello. I do believe that magician he was already kind of coming up in the sort of picking backup meta, I'd say, being chosen a bit more frequently before opera singers addition to the game. But I mean ever since he has opera singer has been added, magician is just getting all the more use out of him. So we are also going to see the antiquarian and the first officer band and the seer and the gravekeeper picked. So we do have a full lineup now on the survivor side, which is priestess, magician, seer, and gravekeeper bones.
Yeah, that is a very formidable lineup. We're seeing basically, I would say, two direct opera singer counters in the form of that seer and that magician, and then priestess obviously is such an asset on Sacred Heart Hospital because in this map, you know, opera singer's greatest asset is that she just moves so fast and can break so much distance, but having the portals going through the hospital can just be so much assistance, and there's nothing opera singer can really do about that because it's not as if she can just go around them. Because they go directly through the hospital. Gravekeeper as well. I mean, all the other rescuers were banned, so except for coordinator. Yes. And NAU doesn't really use coordinator as much as overseas teams. So yeah, seeing that Gravekeeper come out here with all of the other options exhausted, I'm not surprised about that. They do need that Sable rescuer on the team here.
Absolutely. So very good banning choices on the side of vice versa, sort of forcing that less desirable rescuer out, but obviously still their rescuer of choice above the others. So hopefully we'll be seeing some good plays here. But yes, it's very, as you say, obviously Hospital and Priestess is a, I feel like I could say, wretched combination if you're a hunter to deal with. It can get very annoying. It can be utilized very effectively, and we were discussing earlier actually as well about some of the nerfs that have been going through, aiming, like targeting a lot of these meta characters. So with Seer and Mercenary, they have been nerfed, but Priestess has been left alone for the time being. It did seem like I believe in the Q&A when this first came up, there was a Priestess nerf being discussed alongside Seer and Mercenary, but we're yet to see that go through. So Priestess is as strong as ever right now.
Yeah, I was complaining about that the other week. Well, because I was going through the patch notes on the maintenance, and I was like, "Hey, wait a minute! They promised the Priestess nerf." Because in that Q&A, the question was something along the lines of Mercenary, Seer, and Priestess are very strong. Have you considered adjusting them? And they said yes. And then the Mercenary and the Seer nerfs came through, and there has been no Priestess nerf. I would say it's likely because they're just taking their time with figuring out how to nerf her. Because, I mean, I feel like, in my opinion, I think that if they took out one portal, or she starts with 2 portals is what I mean. She starts with 2 portals.
Yes.
If she just started with 1 portal, that would be just like something that they should have already done already, considering Prospector only starts with 1 magnet. But
it's definitely a good point, and honestly, I would not be surprised if that is what ends up happening, because it feels like kind of in line with the nerfs we've been seeing on the Mercenary and the Seer, which is basically cutting down what they already have. So shortening the length of that owl and shortening the delayed damage, just taking out a portal kind of, I feel like, makes sense as well in terms of the kind of angle they seem to be going for with this.
yeah, it's just kind of taking out those resources. Though it would be funny if they had taken another elbow pad from Mercenary. just one more.
Mercenary nerf. He actually starts with no elbow pads and just has to pray to get them out of chest,
you have to
lucky
find
guy
them.
style.
We did have a lot of Mercenary digging in chests earlier, though, actually. So it is kind of funny that you bring that up. Yeah, DN, I believe, was the team that was just searching through those chests as the Mercenary, trying to find as many items as possible, and it was very successful. Never underestimate a Mercenary with perfumes.
Oh god, Mercenary with perfume is evil. I mean, I play quite a bit of like 2v8 just for fun, and like obviously in that kind of mode you can pick whatever items you want, and the Mercenary on that on the perfume is nasty, absolutely nasty. So definitely, I mean, there's a lot of to gain from going in a chest when you are a Mercenary for that reason, I would say.
Looks like we're getting our persona webs trickling in here. So far we've got Gravekeeper with Tide Turner and obviously Borrowed Time. Well, not obviously Borrowed Time, not necessarily, but in this case scenario, we are looking at, I believe, Borrowed Time on all of the team members that we've gotten so far. We are also going to see the Priestess and the Seer carrying Broken Windows, and I'm assuming Borrowed Time have not quite gotten that Magician persona web in yet. I'm assuming that will come shortly, but we will see. I would say for Magician would probably have Broken Windows, or maybe Flywheel, but I would say Broken Windows is a little more likely.
And it has just come in, it would seem. We do have Broken and Flywheel on Magician, and our Hunter Lock is coming through, and drumroll please, because it is such a shock, we are going to be seeing Opera Sigma in our first round.
Yeah, it has been interesting though, because I noticed this in IVT as well, but also in, yesterday and today in Checkmate, not every team has been picking the opera singer for their first round. It's not really a meta that's like gotten into NAU yet, which makes sense because it has actually been working to the detriment of Asia teams as well. Both Chinese and Japanese teams have been picking that opera singer just because she's meta, just to kind of learn her in the early rounds of the tournament, not necessarily because they're confident with her. So I definitely I support when teams don't pick opera singer, but I do enjoy seeing a good opera singer. And in a situation here where we haven't really seen an opera singer in major tournaments before on this map, Sacred Heart. Um, but yeah, the broken windows and flywheel magician. I am hoping that S is still in the chat to see that, because if anyone is a fan of no borrowed time Persona web builds, it's them.
But yeah, I mean, I do have to say, of course, I mean, it's not a surprise to see opera singer first, but again, I feel like you shouldn't as well just sort of like overestimate the fact, like, if I play opera singer I'm gonna win because she's the master. Of course she does take skill, every hunter takes skill. So obviously, if you are more comfortable and more confident in a different hunter, bringing that out first is of course like a very valid and valuable decision. She is not the only hunter in the game, of course. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be very wonderful, as you say, to see her on Sacred, to see how this plays out, especially against this very strong team composition. It'll be really interesting to see how she holds her ground up against this strong composition on a strong map for survivors. So it's going to be possibly a tough match, but an interesting one to say the least. But we are going to start seeing the spawn picks now, Bones.
Yep, and looks like we are seeing the priestess in the hospital as expected, immediately able to set up those 2 portals that she starts with. We're going to see the gravekeeper kind of in an open area here, but will be able to rotate directly into that hospital if he is chased first. We're going to see the magician in the shack and the seer kind of both near the shack and the hospital. Basically, everybody is able to rotate directly into that hospital where those portals will be set up. QNY is setting themselves up for success here on a map that is extremely survivor-sided. So yeah, we are going to see how this goes for Vice versus Hunter, but we're going to get right into it. This is round 1 of QNY versus Vice versa. Vice versus Hunting, QNY is surviving. I am Bones, this is Joey, and we're just going to get right into it.
Absolutely, and we are going to see our opera singer waste no time at all, not afraid to go straight into that hospital right after that priestess. Everyone else now sort of settling right into their decoding, but priestess on hospital is a interesting first pick for a kite, to say the least. It will not be too easy to go up against, but she has used both of her portals already now, so she will more or less be raw kiting until those are back up. But we are going to see the broken windows coming to effect. She has broken quite a bit of distance and will be transitioning to outside of the hospital, in fact.
Yeah, and to those of you who are probably wondering, why are we seeing so many basic hits here? That is the only way to escape from the Shadow Realm. So it's very effectively used here to just cancel that cooldown. We're going to see a drop pallet there. And right now we're just trying to catch up to the Priestess. And yes, we are going to manage to land that heavy hit. No flywheel in play here. We only have broken windows. So a beautiful first hit there on the Priestess, and also disrupted some of the decoding there.
An interesting portal from that priestess. I don't quite believe that went exactly how she intended to, but our opera singer did go through it, so it did still slow her down. A missed blink there, unfortunately, from Vice versus Hunter, but not going to last too long. But will actually last longer, because that owl was perfect, a perfect instant owl. He's making sure that this priestess is able to transition directly right into God Kite, and we are going to see instead now the opera singer going after the seer. Not a bad idea, of course, because that owl has been used, so another has to be gained again for the seer to really have any of the strength that he usually has. Breaking the pallet there instead of hitting the seer, it seems. Perhaps a mistake there, but I do not think he will be lasting much longer. And as I suspected, he is now down. And we do have 2 ciphers remaining, though, Bones. This cipher rush is not to be trifled with.
Yeah, that was an absolutely beautiful first chase there, and forcing that target switch as well. Great job by QNY. Just keeping this opera singer on her toes. And yeah, we're going to see the Gravekeeper is already in the area here. A little bit of cipher pressure due to that chair, and it's not a really great chair to rescue from, so this is going to be a little bit troublesome for this rescue here. We're going to just take that hit right out of the shovel. It is going to bring Opera Singer to full presence. That's going to make her mobility a lot stronger. We're just going to go straight for this rescue and waste as much time as possible with our Tide Turner. But it looks like we already have a cipher at 75% nearly popped. I'm going to check and see if there's any other ciphers on the map. It looks like we've started one in Hospital, which is a very nice, safe cipher to decode uninterrupted as the seer just kites as far away as possible from everybody else.
And this chair that now he has died down in front of is going to be a much better chair for him, with all those pallets still in play in this area. Potentially after he is rescued this time, we will hopefully see less of an immediate hit, especially since we will not have the tie turner effect. Thankfully we are going to see as well that our Gravekeeper has not taken any damage yet. Of course, he only took damage from being in the shovel, has now taken a hit, but is going to give him the boost he needs to get that rescue off. But we are going to see we are going to see our Opera Singer very aware of the final cipher being primed. I'm guessing that in time to down Priestess before she can go through that long portal. The Magician utilizing his decoy to get away without getting hit, but that was quite a close one, Bones, there as well. Very impressive fast maneuvering there, kind of catching the survivors off guard, I think. And taking the Priestess into basement, Bones.
No. Yeah, I actually noticed the priestess had missed a calibration, so that immediately alerted the opera singer to her presence there. Very, very unfortunate slip up. Of course, I think that the opera singer probably would have seen that cipher shaking soon enough, but it did end up getting interrupted sooner than later. Unfortunately, it's already passing 80%, so they can definitely still turn this around. The problem is, though, that none of these survivors are built to rescue from basement. But it looks like Seer's just kind of trying to grab another owl here, is not going to have it in time for that hit. And is just going to have to go right out of the area. But it doesn't look like we might be able to get this drop down hit, but Opera Singer's hitbox is so small that it's going to need to be very precise.
Yes, I mean, dodging that full hit is not easy. Unfortunately, of course, the Magician did not have borrowed time, unfortunately, so he is still on the ground, and the Priestess is going to go down. The cipher has popped, but the no borrowed time has, in this situation, ended up being quite on QNY. That was very, I mean, unfortunate to see indeed. Because Magician was in that situation, forced to do that basement rescue, did the decoy successfully, but the Priestess, of course, with all fast healing, has healed. I do not think it'll be enough, though. No, she has gone down. This is looking to be a tie. And yes, both of the other survivors have escaped, so this is a tie, Bones.
Yeah, that is so unfortunate, and there really is the risk of not bringing borrowed time, I definitely think that QNY was kind of banking on that Magician getting first kite, because that really is what no borrowed time builds are made for. You just want to take that first kite, you want to have as much as possible to be able to maintain that first kite. Having both flywheel and broken windows can be very, very helpful for that. But getting hit at that last second, not having the borrowed time to get back up, and also with all of your teammates in the area, I feel like that just really was not a good situation for them. They didn't have the distance to be able to recover from that. The Priestess didn't.
No, and kudos to Hunter for sort of forcing that situation. Of course, I mean, these on paper, this match was in QNY's favor with the map choice, with that team composition, and it was paying off. I mean, we saw the two ciphers remaining with that first chair. It was very much a case of choosing the right moment to teleport, and a lucky basement spawn, of course, really just made that play far further into the Opera Singer's hands. And yeah, as you say, that's the risk with not bringing borrowed time. When that risk pays off, it's wonderful, but it's a risk all the same. And in this instance, it unfortunately potentially lost them the win there.
Yeah, but I really do want to commend QNY on that opening kite. Being able to just utilizing the Priestess, utilizing the Seer there as well to just extend that kite as long as possible. It really did make it seem like a winning situation for them, unfortunately. I feel like even without, because the thing is that it definitely would have still been a one-man elimination. With with the basement chair, with escaping from the basement, all of that happening. If the Magician had borrowed time, it would have still been a one-man elimination. It was just not having borrowed time did end up making it a draw. It may still have been a draw because the opera singer was kind of out of attack recovery at that point, but she had also gone for a second hit on the magician is the thing, and obviously that second hit didn't go through because it didn't need to go through because the magician was still on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, we're speaking entirely in hypotheticals here, of course, when we say might have been this, might have been that. But I mean, both sides played incredibly well. We cannot understate that. So congratulations to both teams, and it'll be interesting to see how our next matchup goes, which we do already have our first two bans for. Seer and Priestess will be banned on the side of QNY's Hunter here.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of what I was talking about for last match, and a bit of an inversion as well. Not wanting to allow vice versa survivors that Seer and Priestess, and yeah, because that is the thing, you know. With the new ban pick system, the first two survivors always get banned in future rounds. However, do you want to allow them to have that Seer? Do you want to allow them to have that Priestess? Again, the Seer, I believe the Seer, not the Priestess. The Priestess has been banned. Globally. I'm just gonna double check this actually. Yeah, the Priestess has been banned. Magician has also been banned for QNY, but that Seer is still recyclable, so they can use that Seer again in future rounds, as long as obviously the Seer isn't banned. But either way, banning the Seer and Priestess, that was definitely very strong here from QNY's Hunter. You just don't want to deal with it. You just don't even want to deal with it for one match, because even if it's going to be banned in the future, it'll still hurt.
Because I mean, we've already seen, obviously, QNY being willing to bring out that Priestess, despite it meaning a global ban for the rest of this matchup. So you never know what will happen. You don't want to underestimate, oh, they're not going to bring out the strongest survivors here yet. They just might, because especially since this is a situation where there is a tie, it is a situation where vice versa can potentially pull ahead from the very beginning, which is a situation that I imagine QNY wants to prevent. So banning that Seer, banning that Priestess is smart, of course, because that Priestess can be very game-changing on a map like Sacred Heart Hospital.
Yeah, it really was, you know, as you were saying, that risk being taken. It really almost did work out for them. It was just an unfortunate endgame basement situation. Literally, the entire match would have been different if the basement was not there. Which, again, you know, speaking in hypotheticals, I love these hypotheticals. But it looks like we are just going to get our first two survivor picks locked in. We're going to be looking at an acrobat and a magician. Funny with that acrobat being banned first last time. But yeah, I feel like I have so many feelings on acrobat being meta, which I know that Joey has heard before, but
I have indeed.
it's just it's such a he doesn't do anything except he does everything. But it's definitely a very strong first pick here, as well as that magician looking at potentially an opera singer coming into this first round. Having the acrobat obviously can break distance. I don't know about the acrobat versus the... Well, I guess it does actually work on Sacred Heart, as long as the acrobat's in like one of those walled areas. Can definitely utilize those bombs very, very nicely in order to break that distance and get out of the way of the opera singer. And magician as well, obviously, as we've discussed, has those decoys to utilize. And yeah, we're actually going to ban out the mercenary and get in our antiquarian.
Of course. Mercenary ban, obviously very reasonable. The Seer Priestess mercenary really taking up that space on the banning side of things, but very understandable. And we are also, I believe, going to see a first officer ban for that final ban pick. Again, trying to just really force out a rescuer that is not the best choice among them all, is speaking purely in meta terms. But yeah, I mean, this seems to be a strategy that many teams deploy lately, just banning the mercenary, then banning that first officer, just really making sure that the solid rescuer is not the mercenary or nor the mercenary light. Because first officer, of course, doesn't quite have the delayed damage, but with the pocket watch, can sort of imitate it. So really, I mean, that delayed damage is highly sought after, I would say. Very much getting rid of any rescuer that can sort of even so much as imitate it. But of course, Antiquarian coming out is always nice to see her. I do love some Antiquarian gameplay. It's sort of she's an interesting one up against Opera Singer because of the how fast Opera Singer's hitbox is. I have seen many instances, like not just obviously all the time in average gameplay, but even in tourney, you will see mistakes being made with that hit connecting with the Antiquarian before the Antiquarian can stun, because it really is a battle of just speed, wits, and reaction times. So yeah, I mean, it's always very interesting to see an Opera Singer against an Antiquarian for that reason. But we are going to see the Gravekeeper locked in for the final survivor.
Yep, congratulations, Joey, for predicting that one. But yeah, it really is. I would like to see more coordinator. In terms of that stable rescuer, but Gravekeeper, you know, is still very, very strong and can definitely be utilized very well. On Sacred Heart Hospital, there's a lot of areas that are just good to get stuck in terms of just, you know, the common Gravekeeper kite strategy is to just throw down a pallet and then hide under it and then hide under another pallet and then hide under another pallet. And there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, alright. Looks like we're getting our Persona webs in much quicker this time. We're going to see everybody has borrowed time this time around. We've got our Acrobat and Magician on Broken Windows. We've got our Antiquarian on Flywheel and our Gravekeeper on Tide Turner. I do enjoy seeing Antiquarian on Flywheel. I feel like Flywheel is kind of the persona of choice for a lot of harassers because it does allow you to be very, very close and still avoid that hit. But interestingly enough, we are not going to be looking at that Opera Singer. We're going to be looking at a Sculptor instead.
Interesting. I did really start speaking in terms of the Opera Singer had already been locked in, so I do apologize for that.
It's okay, I was doing the exact same.
But Sculptor first round, I'm very excited to see this. I do find myself missing the heydays of Sculptor meta. It's a time past, but a time that I do long for to return sometimes. She is fun to watch, and it's really interesting. I feel like thinking about those times where hunters that barely get picked anymore or don't get picked as often were just the meta. So always fun to see a Sculptor. She really is not much of a round one pick these days. So I'm very excited to see what QNY has up their sleeves here.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see the Sculptor. She is also very strong with on Sacred Heart. There's a lot of areas for her. You know, it is a survivor-sided map is the thing. It's still a survivor-sided map, but there's a lot of areas where Sculptor can just corner you with those statues. It's kind of a reverse of the same thing that happened that I was talking about with Gravekeeper, where there's just a lot of corners to hide in, a lot of just places to tight kite, but with Sculptor, you know, you get stuck there, you immediately get hit with a statue. So good Sculptor, I mean, in any situation, good Sculptors are scary, but especially in tight kiting situations, I feel like she was not one of the first hunters, but one of the first, like, real respected meta hunters who could counter that tight kiting. Obviously not as much as we have now, because we have these hunters who are literally built to do that, but she was kind of the start, I feel like.
I'd say that's definitely true. She kind of marked the beginning of an era, I'd say. But I'm really just, yeah, I mean, as you say, like, Sacred Heart is a really interesting map due to the fact it's big and it has those open areas, but it also has those tight kiting spaces. God Kite on Sacred Heart, I would argue, is kind of one of the at least I find one of the most annoying, I would say, like God Kites that we can find in the maps that we have in this game. So of course, a hunter that can sort of counteract a Sacred Heart God Kite like that is a very good choice to have. And yeah, I mean, perhaps this is why we are seeing the sculpture in this first round. You kind of very you pointed out very wisely, of course, that the opera singer is not so often picked on sacred, so perhaps in this situation they figured that sculptor would just be a better choice.
And again, you know, there is that that I was talking about earlier, where if you're not confident with the opera singer, or you're more confident with another hunter with the situation, don't pick the opera singer. Pick the hunter that you're more confident with, because it does. That's the thing. It's sort of a reverse of the way the opera singer meta has been working. A lot of hunters, especially like Dream Witch mains, Geisha mains, a lot of hunters whose main would be banned immediately after the first round, play opera singer in the first round, and then, you know, the opera singer gets banned because the other team is pressured into banning the opera singer, leaving their actual main free. It's sort of a reverse psychology of that, or it can be at least, where if QNY's hunter has that opera singer still, it leaves that opera singer on the table.
Absolutely.
Unless, you know, vice versa knows something we don't and ends up banning the opera singer instead. And then, of course, you still have the sculptor, you still have whatever else is in that wheelhouse. So the art of bans is always very fun to kind of pick apart. And with hunter picks pressuring
it's very
the survivors.
fun. It is one of my favorite aspects of tourney, because it really brings in a level of strategy before the game even starts, just trying to consider what your best options are. And with the more and more meta hunters that come out, and the more and more meta survivors that come out, the more and more the meta changes, I guess I should say, the more you kind of end up in a situation where you are between a bit of a rock and a hard place. It's like, if we don't ban the opera singer, we'll get an opera singer, but if we do ban the opera singer, we're going to get the hunter that this hunter main is scarily known for in the second round. It really does kind of put a kind of boon in the kit of the hunter mains in a tournament, because it does mean that you don't if you kind of master that opera singer, for example, you don't necessarily have to have your main banned after the first round. It's an interesting situation indeed.
Yeah, looks like we are just waiting for the final survivor to ready up here, but I'm definitely excited, especially since it does kind of seem like vice versa was looking to counter that that opera singer with that magician pick. Acrobat's interesting though, because the thing with Acrobat is that, like, Acrobat is very strong, but I'm very intrigued as to Acrobat being that first pick, because it does lock off the opera singer lock off the Acrobat for future rounds. I'm thinking so much about opera singer that just came out, but Acrobat's so versatile that locking him out immediately is a little bit interesting, because it does, obviously it frees up the spot for other survivors to stay open, but he's so versatile that, like, not being able to bring him in later rounds, that's going to be an interesting situation.
It's certainly an interesting choice, and perhaps one that vice versa might have been planning all along. I mean, something I notice is that you can sometimes see who the most formidable survivors, or the survivors they expect, are. They tend to I'm getting my words all tied up, but what I'm trying to say is that oftentimes you might see a hunter ban some of the characters that their own team is quite confident and strong in. So the fact we saw the Acrobat ban from vice versa's hunter in the first round kind of makes me think perhaps maybe they were planning all along to bring Acrobat. Oh Jesus, that's a tongue twister. Acrobat out on that first round. But we are going to see the spawn picks. Magician, interestingly, in the hospital, and everyone else more or less in very similar placements to our last round, but this time no priestess in that hospital to give everyone a very, very easy route into the hospital.
Yeah, I do think that I didn't quite catch who spawned at the bottom of that L, but it does look like, I believe, the Gravekeeper's Cipher may spawn lock off. It might be a different one. Yeah, it does look like I was wrong about where that locked off cipher would spawn. But anyway, we're going to get right into it. This is the second half of round 1 with Vice Versa surviving and QNY hunting. And it looks like we're going to go right for that Antiquarian here. Or maybe the Gravekeeper. We've actually got 2 survivors in one area, which is kind of the beauty of Sacred Heart Hospital spawns. And a beautiful bait there of that stick. We still have 2 more left to use. We're going to be able to land that one. But what a great start there from our Sculptor.
Absolutely. Very impressive dodging of that statue there inside the pallet. Very expertly aimed by our sculptor, but still managed to be dodging, which kind of speaks again to the kiting skills on display here. But of course, with a sculptor, when she is hit with the stun of the Antiquarian, she still has her statues available. So honestly, sculptor is a good hunter to go up against an Antiquarian with, and we are seeing that in display here. But some very close statue dodges here. Very much ooh, a flyball there, just about missing the ooh, goodness. Again, I mean, yeah, that was very tight indeed, but excellent playing here from our hunter to dodge all those stuns, to bait out the flywheel as well, and we are still at 5 cycles remaining.
Yeah, what a fast down there. It looks like we do almost have the Magician cipher finished. Acrobat is also hard at work there, so it does look like this is going to be 2 ciphers decoded by the time we get the Antiquarian off chair. But our Gravekeeper is already coming in for it. Pretty early rescue, all things considered, but considering the Gravekeeper cipher was in the area, not all that surprising. But we are going to see... I really love how these statues are being used as pressure. Locking off these areas. And oh, we're going to see a blink there. A little bit slow, but we are going to be able to get that hit in. A little bit of mind games there, not taking the immediate hit. And our Antiquarian is going to go down once again.
Yeah, definitely mind game going on there. You could really see the thought process almost with every single move and every single choice being made there. Just really sort of paying attention to each other's movements, trying to figure out what's going to happen. But we are going to see as well, our Gravekeeper does have one more shovel left, but he has been chipped quite a bit there with the statues. He probably will not be able to get this rescue up, and no, he definitely will not be able to get this rescue up because he is now down. So not a great situation for our survivors on Vice Versa here. But the Antiquarian was unlikely to be able to last much longer off the chat anyway. She was out of her bamboo flute. There was not much more she could do, but we are immediately going to see our Gravekeeper beachhead. We do have 3 ciphers remaining as well. This is looking to be a very difficult match for Vice Versa to come back from, Bones.
Yep, and this really is, the days of the Sculptor are not over, I would say, it is safe to say, but with that Gravekeeper, you know, that really just is the danger of, allowing the Sculptor to get max presence, because as soon as those max presence statues were unlocked, you know, we are seeing chip after chip after chip. And it looks like we are going to move on to our Magician here. Dungeon is in the area, but it's not going to happen today. And a beautiful hit there! Magician, having no time to use that decoy, is going to be able to transition right into the hospital. But oh, we are going to be able to teleport in the last seconds over to the chair. Gravekeeper is going to be able to get that shovel out, but we do still have the statues. Not quite knocking him out of the shovel, though.
No. This shovel is really going to be buying him some time here. Basically a game of duking, trying to not get hit by those statues, forcing out the basic hit to get him out of the shovel. So a very good use of the shovel there indeed. But we are now at 1 cipher remaining. But that cipher, I do not believe, is too close to being popped. But of course, our hunter is very aware of the ciphers remaining, is going to go start pressuring the other survivors, not going to take Cipher Rush for granted. But every survivor right now is in a situation where they need healing. So we are going to see, if you pay attention to the status is being pinged, we do have the Gravekeeper and the Magician healing up. So if this Acrobat does get Chad, there will be a rescue potential happening. Very wise decision indeed, of course, because there only is 1 cipher remaining. Only 1 survivor needs to be decoding. They are very much setting up for the end of this game. A beautiful bomb there from the Acrobat, expertly placed over the little bits of that area that can be vaulted over with the bomb. And finally, we are going to see the acrobat go down, but just before he can make use of the god kite. And the final cipher is on 84% bones.
Yep, they're definitely going to have that cipher primed by the time. Yep, right as the acrobat shared, we're seeing that 96% ping come through. But we are going to be able to get a statue graveyard over there. Not going to throw any statues at though. It looks like we are going to be saving them. Cipher Machine is primed. It looks like Magician is going to use an extra decoy just to get to the chair a little bit faster. But Acrobat does need to be careful here. It looks like he is going to transition into a better area for this endgame kite, and they're just going to pop that cipher immediately. They do need to get a draw to tie the round. If they manage to get a 3-man, they will win the round. And QNY needs a 3-man elimination to win the round respectively. So a little bit tense here in this endgame. We're going to teleport right away, looking for that last elimination, or second to last elimination, to secure the tie.
Oh, a terror shock there on the Gravekeeper, an unfortunate slow vault. A little bit of graffiti spraying to acknowledge the little bit of a mistake there. But I've seen some very smart plays there from our sculptor, I would say, because we do have our Magician on the gate now, but in this situation, that gate was going to open much more slowly because there was an acrobat on the gate. Of course, the acrobat opens that gate far slower than the average survivor. So very smart there to try and leave it so that the acrobat would be forced to open it. But the Magician was able to take it over. Unfortunately, our sculptor is not able to close that distance in time. So it was a tie in the end, Bones. But amazing plays from both sides of the field here. Very impressive indeed. It did seem for a bit there that it would be very difficult for vice versa to pull back, but they managed to get that tie.
Yeah, absolutely incredible work there, just keeping that pressure up. And again, I feel like, obviously we can't see the cipher progress as consistently as we would be able to if the ciphers were on the screen, but I would say they definitely had that last cipher started, abandoned it, moved to other ciphers, had it done, at least halfway done by the end game. So still having that cipher with progress on it, not finished yet, is so valuable for teams to just be able to keep up that pressure. But yeah, that is going to be a tie in round 1, which means that this is automatically going to go to round 3. We have a perfect draw here, 4-4, and we're going to head into round 2. But what an amazing showing here from round 1, just proving that both teams are so evenly matched.
Absolutely. I mean, you're very correct to say, like, the first thing when we joined this stream, that these are two veteran teams that have been around, some have been in Checkmate before. They know what they're doing, and we are seeing a very even matchup here, as you say, very much giving each other a run for their money. They cannot take each other for granted. But yeah, amazing, and very fun to see that sculptor come out in that first round. And honestly, the more I thought about it over the course of the match, the more it made sense. I mean, of course, we probably saw at the end that badge on the sculptor. So obviously, it's a hunter she's very confident with, as is. But it's just like with those 5s being picked, sculptor is almost like the OG presence-based hunter. Maybe not the OG, but a very much like, in terms of when the sculptor gets scary, it's when the full presence is hit. Sculptor really kind of personifies that. And I was noticing, of course, getting to that full presence became easier with the Gravekeeper on the field, for example, because having to hit out of that shovel gave the sculptor presence. And we saw, of course, as well in the Antiquarian's Kite, the strength of the sculptor with the statues being able to be utilized even after being stunned. It was a very good pick up against this matchup, I would say. So it's interesting to see what can be very strong against an opera singer. For example, it can be thwarted by the good old sculptor, I'd say. But I will stop chatting my ass off to say that we do have a Chinatown band coming through.
Chinatown is a pretty interesting band here. I mean, to be fair, it is a pretty survivor-sided map. So I definitely understand banning it, but I am very curious to see what will be picked in return. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting seeing what vice versa decides to ban for Hunter in this next round, because again, the opera singer could still be on the table, or they can just say, you know, well, we got the draw last round against the sculptor.
Very much so. I mean, again, the banning and the picking, it's something you really have to sit and think about and talk about, because yeah, it's never a decision to take for granted. I mean, when you even take for granted that an opera singer will come up, you get a first round sculptor, which I feel like is very unexpected, as we've said, in this current meta. But we are going to see that the map that we are on this round is Ever Sleeping Town, one of my personal favorites to see, at least.
Yep, and it looks like QNY is going to be surviving first, my bad. So we are going to see vice versa hunting again, which will make it possible for those vice versa survivors to take the result of their hunter in this first half of the second round and say, yeah, we can afford a draw, let's let the sculptor out. But also, Ever Sleeping is a much better map for hunters, which is definitely something that they need to take into consideration. There's a lot more open space, there's a lot less areas to kind of hide in, and especially with a sculptor on the table, that's very, very scary. But obviously, that is a conversation for next round. Something that I do want to point out, though, is that even with those mercenary and seer nerfs, we're still seeing them banned.
Of course. I mean, it's not as if they've been nerfed into the ground. They are still strong survivors. Just in the base of their kit, it's just difficult to counter when used effectively. And it's good to see that even with their nerfs, they're not being underestimated. Perhaps these nerfs need to exist for a longer time before we start feeling it in ban picks and stuff in tourney, because those nerfs have only just gone through, of course. So it may also be a case that we are still very much in the mindset of Merc and Seer being very scary, and that hasn't quite worn off yet. But I would be surprised if they weren't still mainstays, because despite being nerfed, I would say their core strength is still very much there. So yeah, as you say, it's interesting to see that they are still about and still very formidable, very scary.
Yeah, and you know, we did just see that Seer be very, very effective here. But we are going to start getting the bans in here from Vice versus Hunter, and it looks like we're actually going to just go ahead and ban the Acrobat and the Mercenary again. With that Priestess and Magician as the global bans here. And yeah, I mean, I guess if it ain't broke...
You took the words out of my mouth. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I mean, if anything, this is an even stronger choice this time around, because there's no fear of that priestess. The priestess is global banned, and the acrobat, if he hasn't come out yet, he's still likely to come out, because he is still very much a mainstay in that meta. And I mean, if we want to talk more about this beloved topic of acrobat meta, beloved to you, I know, Bones, it's just it's very interesting, because he kind of came into the meta at a time where the meta was really starting to change, and we were starting to see psychologists and entomologists as well, and it was becoming a very interesting time for meta after the kind of strong chokehold that Rescuers had on the meta. I mean, anyone who remembers the Rescuer, Explorer team comp meta deserves a veteran discount at this point. But I have to say, like, psychologist is obviously still used, entomologist is obviously still used, but acrobat, out of those sort of up and coming new meta stars from a couple years back, acrobat is kind of just one who still has the kind of strongest foothold in that meta. He just won't die out.
Yeah, I feel like it's because he kind of has his own, like, built-in blink in a sense. Just being able to break that little bit of distance can be so valuable, and especially on a map like Ever Sleeping, there are those low walls there that the Acrobat can vault over, so it definitely does... It makes, I guess, a little bit more sense here to ban the Acrobat right away on a map like Ever Sleeping, where he can be super utilized. And also in those covered areas, what some call 11, double 11. I call them lizard death traps because that is most applicable to myself. But whatever you want to call them, they can, yeah. Lizard count 1, but they can be very, very detrimental going against an acrobat in those areas, because he kind of just has free reign between the walls, being able to use the bombs to vault over the windows instead of risking a terror shock. Able to drop those bombs as well in just the middle of the path, and there's nowhere else you can go to really avoid them. So it just can be... So valuable.
we see patient come out on Ever Sleeping for very similar reasons. Because especially when you end up in that sort of graveyard Godkite area, that loop is very annoying when you have a patient with three hooks remaining. And I feel like something can be said as well about the acrobat in that situation. Being able to keep that loop going without the hunter being able to catch up to you is a very formidable kiting strategy. So again, I mean, perhaps we'll see a patient come out here. I don't know. It would be a bad shout to bring out the patient. But if you're scared of an acrobat, I can imagine you would also be scared of a patient on the map.
I do wonder, okay, well, never mind. I was going to wonder some things, but we're actually going to lock in the seer and the forward right away here. I was going to say maybe we'll pick a patient, just to kind of fill in that gap like you were saying. But yeah, we are going to lock in the seer and the forward here. And it looks like we're actually going to ban the Night Watch. So we're still going to leave that Opera Singer on the table. And it is kind of like what I was saying before, you know, hey, we got the draw. It's fine. We can continue going up against the Opera Singer again. But I will say, Ever Sleeping is again a much better map for the Opera Singer than Sacred Heart Hospital. We've seen the Opera Singer be utilized very, very effectively on Ever Sleeping Town. Yeah, the global bans are Priestess and Magician, actually, not the Seer. So we are going to see the Seer again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And very, very interesting as well, because obviously, again, understandable may perhaps to not ban the Opera Singer after last round, but Magician is off the table now. They do not have that sort of a Opera Singer counter, and of course that is not the only Opera Singer counter on the roster. There are many others, but just interesting to see that they kind of have that confidence when the situation is slowly tipping towards the Hunter's favor as we go further and further into our matchup here, with the global bans slowly piling up, because of course, I mean, after this they won't be able to use the Seer in the forward either. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a bad shout to bring out that Seer. Not too surprising to see the forward. Obviously, gone are the days where forward was in every single lineup, but obviously the forward is still a valuable survivor to have on a team comp, and obviously again really kind of starts to counteract the kind of, okay, we're going to ban Merc, okay, we're going to ban First Officer sort of ban pick sort of strategy you kind of have going on then that we saw in the first 2 rounds there. So already putting that rescuer of choice out onto the field, but still allowing First Officer and Mercenary to come out later, of course, as long as they are not banned from the start. But we are going to see Antiquarian banned and the Psychologist picked. So speak of the devil being the of those past old meta picks that we don't see so much anymore. Psychologist is back. Of course, Psychologist is not exactly been phased out by any means, but I would say she is still picked a little less than she was after her initial release. Always fun to see her on the field again.
And we're actually going to be looking at an entomologist ban, which is a little bit interesting. It might indicate something like an axe boy, possibly something like a smiley face, or a ripper, something that, or it could just be, you know, in general, entomologist is very strong on a map like Ever Sleeping, but at times that entomologist ban can be very, very telling of what a hunter is about to play. But for this last pick here, I would be very interested. Oh, okay, no, I was going to say maybe a patient, but we're actually going to see that lawyer coming through here, kind of a mainstay of the tournament scene nowadays. With that, is horrific too strong of a word to say about that speed boost? Because it's kind of horrific. It's only 5%, but 5% goes a very long way. Painter's speed boost is 4%, right? Like even when it's
honestly,
stacked.
Yeah, that Painter speed boost is one that gets overlooked because it can be quite scary, but as someone who plays a lot of Painter myself, I know that to be quite true, in that people overlook it. But of course, the lawyer even trumps that with that 5% speed boost. It's nothing to sort of scoff at. It's surprisingly strong, and I mean, you weren't worried that it was going to be too strong of a word, but I mean, anyone who saw the last Q&A will know that Bones is not alone in that feeling. I mean, the person who sent that question to Natees really had done their homework, really giving citations to all their claims and why lawyer is too strong, and after the buff, and Natees said, you know what, can't argue with that one. So a lawyer nerf is actually in the cards, which is very interesting to see. I feel like for people less familiar with tourney, it might seem confusing because we're used to thinking lawyer is, oh, it's just a lawyer, like what can he do? But honestly, after that buff, anyone familiar with tourney will know that he has become a mainstay in team comp. He is becoming meta. He is becoming meta, which, I mean, I never thought I would be saying lawyer is meta, but we are in that day and age. So yeah, I mean, he is a threat as it stands. So again, you are not the only one to say, ugh, horrific, Bones.
Yeah, it really is, and I feel like a lot of it is just because he doesn't really have a weakness. He can't get terror shocked. He has veterans boost, so as soon as you hit him, he gets double the speed boost that, or at least a longer speed boost that normal survivors get when they're hit. He has fast decoding, and like you can't chase him, and as soon as you leave him alone, he's got all the ciphers done. There's basically no way to win.
No.
No way to win against specifically the lawyer.
There's no
in terms
specific
of no weaknesses.
counters.
Yeah.
But
Right.
we are going to see our persona webs coming through. We have everyone will be bringing their borrowed time this time around. No repeat of last time with Magician and able to get up at the end of the match, but we will be seeing the Tide on the forward with everyone else carrying broken windows. So no flywheel, interestingly enough.
Yeah, I feel like there's not really anybody on the team that like desperately needs that flywheel. I feel like maybe if anything the Seer, or the forward, but I mean forward with Tide obviously having that stable rescuer able to stun at the chair and guarantee the rescue, provided the hunter doesn't bring excitement, obviously, but you know, that does force the hunter to bring excitement instead of something like Blink. We've seen abnormal opera singers before, even if that's a little bit less likely. But basically it would force the hunter to bring excitement to avoid that in a very specific situation, so it's not really worth bringing excitement for. But yeah, I feel like Broken Windows is kind of stronger against Opera Singer as well, because for starters, it's so hard to time the flywheel because her hitbox is so small and so fast. It's very easy to either waste the flywheel on a hit that isn't even going to connect in the first place, or you know, you flywheel once and then by the time the flywheel is over, she's already hitting you again because she's so fast.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But yeah, I do
But
believe we forgot to officially mention that the opera singer did get picked, but the opera singer did get picked, as you can see on the screen and probably guessed from our conversation. We did not actually say it, but there you go. We do have the opera singer, which is unsurprising. Again, I mean, the fact it was a tie, I feel like both sides are kind of in the if it ain't broke, don't fix it attitude here. But as you rightfully pointed out, this is a better map for Hunters, so it'll be interesting to see. But we are going to be in our spawn picks here. The forward spawning in the middle, potentially there to harass and get to whoever is might be downed as fast as possible. And really, it seems to be the case here that we have our psychologist and lawyer taking advantage of two stories. So interesting to see the spawn picks here. No one deciding to spawn in graveyard or anything of the sort. Instead, preferring to take advantage of two-story for kiting. So interesting spawn picks indeed. Potentially, we might be seeing the CO as the first kite. I'm unsure, but that we'll find out very shortly. Because we are now going into round two, our first match of round two. Of QNY versus vice versa. I'm Joey, and my friend here is Bones, and I'll hand it back to you, Bones.
that's the nicest thing you've ever called me. But yeah, we're going to get right into it. It does look like you were correct on that prediction that the Seer is going to be our first chase here. Definitely a little bit of an interesting choice, but again, you know, the lawyer was kind of set up for success there with the forward in the area, and we're already going to get our first hit in there. Beautiful, very, very fast hit. I think the owl may have just returned, but the owl was certainly not there to protect from that hit. We're going to just exit out of the shadow form here, and yeah, a very preemptive owl, which is kind of what you have to do with an opera singer on the field. But we're just gonna wait it out here and drop that pallet. But it does look like, yep, we are set up for success here. And oh no, we're actually going to miss the first hit. Okay, we got that one. That's okay. We're okay here. The tram is going to pass by, kind of delaying us for a moment, but we are going to be able to chair this seer very, very quickly. Even the lawyer is only 50% done with his cipher, so that is a much stronger start here for our vice versa hunter than we saw in the previous match.
I mean, perhaps you could see here that perhaps the opera singer was underestimated. I mean, absolutely beautiful playing here from our opera singer. The way the sort of jumps were utilized to get that very first hit was incredible. But we are going to see, of course, the four coming in for the rescue with the Tide Turner. Graveyard right there, so hopefully. Oh, no, not quite. I was going to say hopefully able to transition into the graveyard to have a bit of a redemption kite, but not quite with the speed of the opera singer. That is not going to be the case. Arcia is going to be hit when trying to vault and is going to be down is going to go down, I mean, right at the back of the graveyard, and is going to be chaired. No basement there, fortunately, for Arcia, but is going to be chaired right outside the graveyard. So the graveyard is there for a potential final redemption kite, but that remains to be seen. This is not the best start for our survivors here. It is leaving them in a difficult situation, and there is no Titan on the team either.
Yeah, it does look like we are about to be at 2 ciphers remaining, so things could be worse, all things considered. They're definitely looking at a draw situation. They're also 100% going to sell that seer here. Not really worth sticking around for a rescue, but we are just going to teleport directly towards the psychologist, wanting to get in the way of a little bit of that decoding, disrupting it, making sure that those ciphers do not pop as fast as they probably could. Seer is going to return to the manor, so we do have a guaranteed one-man elimination, if anything else, but I would say we are likely looking at a draw here.
Absolutely. Something worth pointing out though is that the psychologist did use her shield on the board, so she is not in a situation where she can tank those free hits, which is kind of her biggest strength in a kite and her only strength in a kite. Otherwise, she is basically a raw kiter, so not a bad target to go after. But she has got on the tram. Even with the opera singer speed, it is difficult for her to catch up to, and she's also very aware of the ciphers being decoded. We are going to see the lawyer reaching 50% on his cipher. Of course, he has been left to decode this entire match, so that is really kind of showing with what is happening here. The forward using his ball as a way of transitioning away from the hit there, really knowing just how to utilize that well against an opera singer, so definite kudos to him. This is not going to be a super easy kite, but unfortunately he is going to be hit through that pallet, leaving the psychologist and the forward at half health, but there is only one cipher remaining, and that lawyer is still just decoding away as happy as can be.
Yeah, it looks like he might actually be transitioning back to the psychologist's original cipher. Psychologist has opened up a new one, but we are just going to... It looks like we're trying to find that cipher that's being decoded. We have spotted out the psychologist here, so it looks like we are going to change to her, but lawyer has nearly reached the psychologist's old cipher, so that cipher will be primed very... well, not too shortly. It looks like it is only at 48%, my bad. So it'll be a minute, but between accelerated decoding and... yeah, it's already at 62%. Accelerated decoding and the lawyer's 20% speed boost, but yeah, we're just going to teleport right over here, not wanting to give the lawyer a chance here. Unfortunately, lawyer can't get terror shocked, so that pallet is going to be very, very valuable. We are going to break it and get it out of the way, and was that confused?
That was a confused emote. I mean, it's a cocky choice to emote mid-kite, but you can't say it's unwarranted because, again, what can you do against a lawyer in this situation when he has that pallet there? It's very difficult, especially because you can see that speed boost that comes into play, especially later in the match, was definitely giving him a big boon in that kite. It was difficult to deal with indeed. And we are going to see the forward, it seems, kind of coming up potentially to harass. to try and make sure this lawyer does not go on chair. And is that going to go off? Is he going to get that stun off? I can't quite see, but he is being carried towards the basement, interestingly enough. We do have the forward with just under half of his ball left, so quite a bit left to utilize. And we are going to see the Cypher at 76%, which is not as far along as I expected, but of course they did heal up, so I guess that would be why.
Yeah, forward is definitely going to just buy time here until that Cypher is primed. It looks like it is likely primed now, and we are going to be able to get that rescue. Now is just a question of avoiding the fall hit, but it looks like we are just going to pressure them into being down inside the basement. Forward can definitely come for a stun here, but it looks like we're just going to teleport right back up. And oh, missing that pallet stun, lawyer is going to go straight down. We do already have psychologists at the gate, but of course we do have teleport on the opera singer. Lawyer is, I believe, has one last chair left in him. Yes, we were rescued before half. So lawyer is going to be able to sit on chair, and this is looking like another draw here for QNY survivors and vice versa Hunter, but we are going to teleport. Unfortunately, it was just a little bit too late. I don't think forward's going to be able to make it back to that chair though.
This does put forward in an interesting situation. As I mentioned, he does have a lot of that ball left. So, and the dungeon is of course right there. So he is not in a bad situation here to be able to survive. But again, with the speed of an opera singer, that can't be taken for granted. He is going to use it to double back to that dungeon, but not quite good enough. Oh, with the hitbox! Oh my goodness! He perhaps went back there just a bit too early. Perhaps again, sort of putting too much stock in the strength of that football, forgetting that the opera singer can of course just jump right back, and that she did, downing him just over the dungeon. That must be heartbreaking for that forward right now. But wow, very, very strong endgame pressure on the side of opera singer there. That was very impressive, turning what should have been, or not so much should have been, but what we expected to be a tie into that 3-man win.
I feel like it must have been a miscommunication or something, because forward 100% could have gotten dungeon there if the psychologist had left. Because the lawyer had already taken off. The dungeon would have opened the moment the psychologist left out the exit gate, but she stayed.
No,
She
no,
was
it
still
was the
there.
other
It
way
was.
around. They were waiting for the chair to blast off. The
Well, yeah, the
psychologist did,
chair.
the psychologist did leave immediately. It was the lawyer that they were waiting on for blasting off.
No, she was still there when the forward
Wait,
was
she
downed.
was?
Yep, I'm watching it. It's actually perfectly synced so that the stream that I have open
Oh,
is like playing it back.
okay, that's
She
my
had
bad. I
not
was
left out
so
the gate.
confident
That's
in
what I
myself
figured
there.
too. That's what I figured too, because the psychologist had stayed. And so it was like, oh, well, she's waiting for when the lawyer takes off so that, we can end up getting that dungeon open right away. But it may have just been like the length of the lawyer's animation.
I
But
do
either
believe
way,
it was
that's
just
just.
about the chair animation, because I feel like it's very easy to forget that that chair animation does make the dungeon open very slowly. Like
Mhm.
I sometimes forget just how slowly it opens after the chair blasts off. So I feel like it would call for some very close analysis of looking at when the psychologist leaves and when the chair left to kind of figure out that for
Yeah.
sure. But very much I can say I did think the psychologist left there, so that is my bad. Um it's it's very it's very, very interesting match there. Very close indeed.
Yeah, just a matter of seconds between a draw and a loss here. I feel like the forward could have used the football to get out the gate though, is the
He
thing.
absolutely could have. I mean,
Yeah.
that's that's why I said I believe he put too much stock in the strength of that football. I feel like perhaps in that moment, just an oversight of the fact that there was the kind of shadow outline of the opera singer right there. Maybe I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that he must have sort of potentially forgot to account for, because against another hunter that would have probably worked perfectly well, but against the opera singer, just not quite. Or again, perhaps as well, the dungeon opening more slowly kind of sealed the deal there. So there were a lot of factors at play. It was very just gripping thing to watch, but yeah, just whew, what a match, Bones.
Yeah, just absolutely incredible there. And that really does go to show, putting stock in oh, well, we got a tie last time. Surely we can get another tie here. I mean, and they did. They did nearly get that tie. It was just a really unfortunate miscommunication there. And the forward, not deciding where to exit out the match. And obviously, Vice Versa's Hunter was able to take advantage of that very, very well. So that is going to put Vice Versa in a better situation here coming into the next round for their survivor side. Which is, their survivor side is going to be playing next here. So yeah, and it does put a little bit more pressure on QNY's Hunter too. Obviously, we're automatically going to round 3. They did tie the first round very neatly, but that is going to bring us to... Actually, hold on. I'm going to do the math very quickly.
Oh boy.
I've actually gotten better at it. I have gotten good at tournament math. So with 3 points...
I mean, between the
Vice
two of us, you're the
Versa-
one who has done a math class in the last year, so I really shouldn't be talking.
It was statistics, and I used a calculator the whole time. It doesn't count. Yeah,
More
we're looking at a 2-point lead here. We are coming to a total of 7-5, which is obviously just 3-1. But either way, it's only 2 points, which is definitely something that QNY can make up coming into this next round, but it does kind of put the pressure on to not, don't just get the tie, get the 3-man, get the 4-man, put yourselves in a better position for this final round. And for Vice Versa, the same, it's only a 2-point lead. You are in the lead, but it's only a 2-point lead. You do still need to secure that, that gap.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. Sorry, I was distracted looking at the ban picks that are coming through because we do have our first 2 bans for this next round, which will be the Antiquarian and the Patient. Perhaps, I mean, we were just talking about how scary that Patient can be on this map, so not surprising in the least to see that going through. Just making sure that can't be utilized, so understandable there.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what they pick here, because they could definitely come out with that mercenary, or with another pick. We could also see a toy merchant, something that is very situationally good. I feel like, toy merchant would be very strong here. And also a very good first pick,
Yes.
coming into Ever Sleeping Town as a map, because, chances are you get a flat map for round 3. And if you get a flat map for round 3, you're not going to need that toy merchant. So picking a toy merchant here would definitely be a very strong kind of immediate auto ban for the next round.
They may also be thinking as well in terms of the fact that their global bans right now are the Acrobat and the Magician. So they do still have that whole meta available to them, especially with Antiquarian Patient banned. There's still the Mercenary, the Seer, and the Priestess. They may potentially decide to go with one of those as well to kind of they are in a position where they want to kind of keep this lead in tow. It would make sense to kind of start bringing out those strong survivors before they can get banned in the next few bans that will be coming up. So there's a lot of different choices that can be made here, and with the time that it's taking, I'm sure that they are very thoroughly discussing which strategy they might have in their arsenal to go with, because it's not an easy choice. They are in a position now where the tie has been broken, and the pressure is on, as you rightfully pointed out. So it is going to be less of a situation of keeping points equal and more a situation of how can we push this now. So yes, those situational picks like a toy merchant makes sense, but I guess you could consider it a situational pick because Priestess, like I sort of figured, has come out, but the Entomologist has also come out, which after we were talking about the Entomologist ban last round, I mean, you rightfully said that the Entomologist can be quite strong on Ever Sleeping. So Potentially that's what's happening here, Bones. I guess you could say we're both right.
Yep, and we are going to ban out that sculptor as well. So that does leave, obviously, the opera singer still open, but it also leaves the entirety of the rest of the hunter's pool. We could definitely see an opera singer though. Hopefully it goes a little bit better than perhaps other opera singers. It's a very situational thing. And I feel like the one thing with the opera singer is that she's much more difficult to play than she looks.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. She could, because she looks so smooth. She looks so easy, you know, seeing her being played by pro hunters. She looks like, you know, just infinite dash automatically, but that infinite dash is only possible with very, very specific aim, which is why you see it canceled so often, because it's such a short distance that you can dash into another area. That canceling it to cancel the cooldown is much better than just like trying to infinitely spam it and then all of a sudden you're stuck.
Yes.
So she has a much higher skill curve than it seems.
Absolutely. I mean, in terms of meta, I mean, Night Watch, who was the sort of meta right before Opera Singer, is certainly an easier to hunter to learn. But we are going to see our next ban come through. That will be the Mercenary, understandably so. And the Embalmer is going to come out here. See, when I was talking about situational picks, the Embalmer was sort of playing at the tip of my tongue, but I thought, no, that usually comes out in the third round, so that will probably be pick. That'll probably be the third round pick, but no, we are going to see the Embalmer come out round 2, Bones, which is very interesting to see indeed.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Embalmer's kind of becoming a round 1 meta mostly in Japan, but I think I've seen a couple of them in China as well. With the Embalmer, because Embalmer does make it easy or easier to try and secure at least one escape, but it looks like we're going to ban First Officer, again getting rid of those stable rescuers. But in place of that mercenary or the First Officer, it looks like we're going to be seeing a wildling coming out here.
Speaking of veterans discounts in terms of old meta, I mean,
Ah!
the Embalmer and the Wildling had its heyday once upon a time, and every so often, see teams kind of bring it out again. As a little nod to that old heyday. So interesting to see the Embalmer and the Wildling coming out here. Yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting team comp indeed. The Priestess, the Anto, the Embalmer, the Wildling.
The Embalmer and Wildling is actually, it's making me very nostalgic for Call of the Abyss 4. Embalmer and Wildling was kind of this golden duo on Prodigy, which was an old NAU team. And those are days that I miss. Those are days that I miss a little bit when I was just first getting into understanding the tournament scene. It was my first Call of the Abyss tournament, and watching that, I had actually mained Embalmer at the time, so I was like, oh, they're playing Embalmer in tournament, I'm actually doing something right. But yeah, it's very nostalgic to see, but it looks like we're going to get our Persona webs in here, and
sorry, go ahead.
Pretty standard here. We've got borrowed time on everybody except for the Embalmer. Embalmer generally doesn't carry borrowed time, because it's very rare that if an Embalmer survives to the Cypher Pop, that he's going to be the one being chased. So Embalmers very commonly do not bring borrowed time. They don't need it. They can just use their coffin in that situation, or they have already been eliminated, or they aren't even in the line of sight of the hunter. But we're going to see broken windows on the Priestess and the Entomologist. Flywheel is also on the Embalmer, as well as broken windows. And the Wildling is going to be carrying Tide Turner. So a very strong Persona distribution here. And of course, we are going to be seeing that Opera Singer coming through.
Of course, for the third time this evening, but very understandably so. I mean, we did see the strength that she has on Ever Sleeping Town. This is not just simply a situation of, oh, Opera Singer is free, let's go. I mean, it might in part be that because not bringing out Opera Singer first round it gives the opportunity to play her later if they don't want to see you bring your first round Hunter out again. And we did see that sort of playing out here. But Ever Sleeping is a good map for Opera Singer. I think we can safely say that now. Just a lot of spaces to quickly jump to cross that map very quickly indeed. And sort of with the speed that she has, I mean, I kind of almost got too caught up in just marveling at this in the live match instead of commentating what was in front of me. But in getting that fast hit on the Seer in the first round for the hours up, we actually sort of saw the Opera Singer sort of taking advantage of the sort of the house loop, the loops around the sort of smaller buildings that you see in Ever Sleeping, because that was so fast that you would kind of the sort of being able to jump back right to the other end of the building was still possible. It was just really fun to watch, and yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll see more plays of that caliber this time around too. But yeah, Opera Singer or Never Sleeping is definitely a fun one to watch, and I'm looking forward to it, Bones.
Yep. Okay, there's that flywheel effect. I was getting a little bit scared there with Psyche only having broken windows on that persona. But we are going to add that flywheel effect there. And yeah, it really is. It's nice to see. It's nice to see the kind of kite build only embalmer making its way into NAU, because it is something that it's something that's not commonly used. You know, most people feel safer with their borrowed time in play, but having that confidence, I think, to take the kite only build it shows a level of skill, and also shows a level of trust in your teammates and in your communication. But we are going to see, interestingly, the wildling is taking the middle spawn there.
Yes, but perhaps though that the middle spawn is a good spawn for someone who's looking to assist their teammates. So we could be potentially seeing that coming into play with the fact that he will be able to reach his teammate quite quickly. They are kind of all spawned around him. But we will be seeing who the first chase is very shortly, because we are coming into our match now. This is round two, the second match of round two, Vice Versa versus QNY. I'm Joey, that's Bones, and we will be seeing potentially, it looked as though it might have been Entomology's first kite, but no, she was not seen in the end, and it seems though Wildling has been seen first. But if he was the first kite, I would have been surprised. The Opera Singer does not seem to want to deal with that, very understandably so. If a Wildling is not the typical first kite that you would really especially want to see, with the fact that the boar still has all of the time left on it to be used to its full extent. But it's seeming as though we might be seeing the priestess on a first kite here, Bones, throwing down the pallets, trying to set up a kiting area to sort of transition out of, but still has that portal that will be utilized there. Yeah, I mean, it kind of took a bit of time to sort of find that first chase, and without being hit, we are seeing a Cypher at over all the way at 60%. That first hit has only just gone, and that bit is at 60% Bones.
Yeah, that is just what happens with Cypher Rush. A little bit of a miss-aim portal there. I feel like we were definitely looking for that pallet stun. Unfortunately, didn't quite line up. Priestess is going to go down here, but that is pretty much a, I would say, 2.5 Cypher Kite-ish, adding up the numbers there. But yeah, a very, very strong showing. It is a little bit interesting, that rotation that QNY's Hunter took, because I feel like, I mean, not only just us, but I feel like Vice Versa as well was expecting the Embalmer to be that first chase, but obviously the Embalmer was set up with the Wildling in the area. And oh, we're actually going to miss that dash there. We are going to get a hit on the boar. I would say that we're probably going to go, oh no, we're just going to get off the boar here. And okay, no terror shocks in play. We're going to get a very clean rescue right before half. Unfortunately, Wildling is going to take a hit there, and we obviously have no one very easily in play to heal him back up. But Priestess is just going to be able to die in a corner, but we have managed to get a coffin on the Priestess. That is the communication of the Embalmer coming in, was able to get the appearance, and this means that we won't have to go in for a second rescue, because that coffin will be coming out very shortly.
Of course, I mean, very smart indeed to kind of go for that then. We know that the Opera Singer has Blink, she has used it, very smartly, mind you, to kind of get that down more quickly. But she is all the way on the other side of the map. It is not going to be a particularly simple task to fully catch up, especially with that being in Graveyard. With the Graveyard being a very good place to kite. For a priestess especially as well, a priestess is one of the survivors that kind of really utilize the loop of in and out of the graveyard with the portals that she has. She does have one right now, very close to having two. So she is in a position where this will potentially be a better kite for her. But well, just about missing the hit there. I really thought that was going to go down, but not quite. But potentially will be going down here. Yes. Unfortunately, of course, with the Opera Singer, she is an anti-loop hunter. So, despite everything, all those strengths for being able to loop in Graveyard against an Opera Singer, that does become something quite dangerous. But of course, we are very much witnessing the Wildling harassing the board there, buying time for Cypher Rush. We are at 2 Cyphers remaining, and seems to sort of underestimate the Wildling there, picking the Priestess up, but immediately she is rescued out of the Balloon's Bone.
Yeah, I feel like it was just a couple of seconds left on that boar. Opera kind of trying to wait it out, but unfortunately didn't quite wait it out for long enough. That is going to hugely extend the Priestess's chase here. It looks like we almost have that Cypher primed, so Wildling can afford to try and force heal here. Is it going to be enough? Yes, it's going to be enough! They're going to be able to get that pop-off! Unfortunately, Wildling is going to go straight down, but Wildling is not dead on chair. They absolutely could come back for him. He can also self-heal, and the Priestess is going to be able to make her escape. She doesn't have any portals left to use, but what an amazing communication here from Vice Versa.
And the bees are now coming to harass at a key moment. Melly, our entomologist, not really having much else to do right now. As she waits for that gate to be opened, she could use all of the bees that she desires. Priestess probably will go down here, but this is looking like a free man boat. That portal has come out, has come up, but she now is back to none left. We do have obviously. Oh, I was going to say we have the pallets in the area, but unfortunately, throwing them down a bit too early. Slow vaulting means that she has been terror shocked there. But our Wildling is in a sort of vulnerable situation here. He needs to try and get out of this match, if not to the other gate, then to the dungeon. But with the time bought by the bees, I do potentially believe he might be able to reach that dungeon in time bones. That remains to be seen. But we are going to see the Opera Singer, instead of going after that Wildling, well, perhaps interesting. She seems to have tried to sort of bait going after them at the gate, but in the end, kind of went in the wrong direction, predicted wrongly where that Wildling might be, and that was in the end a free man with that Wildling dungeon.
Yeah, absolutely incredible there from Vice Versa survivors. And yeah, it's kind of like what I was saying before, just the communication, not just the communication of having an embalmer in the match in the first place, but the communication required to be able to utilize that embalmer, utilize the Wildling. Wildling is kind of fell out of the meta because he doesn't have much to him. He has terrible decoding. His harassment is very, very situational. And with how hard they nerfed the boar, it's much, much harder to utilize, and he needs a team with good communication. And this is what Vice Versa has shown. And I feel like the whole match it would have been a draw. Probably it would have been a draw if the Opera Singer had not picked up that Priestess, but allowing the Wildling to get that rescue. Because again, because of all the nerfs that Wildling has gone through, he's very underestimated as a harasser. Because if the balloon pickup animation goes through, he's basically useless. But being able to just get that rescue there completely changed the game. And then the Cypher pop, everything was so coordinated there. And being able to secure that 3-man is huge.
It's huge. It's made what was a small lead into one that is going to be much more threatening, much more difficult to catch up to. And yeah, I mean, as you say, Wildling may have fallen out the meta, but I feel like any character that was meta at some point, that capability within them is still going to be there if utilized correctly. And we just saw how that can be the case with Wildling. I mean, again, I feel like Wildling can also just be underestimated a little too because of how hard he was nerfed. But just because he was nerfed does not really necessarily mean that he is just weak and useless. Like we saw there, that Wildling rescuing with the ball really just cemented that being a free man escape for vice versa. It was a very, very well done harassment and just really sort of sealed how that match went. I mean, Embalmer Wildling, the duo reigns supreme still, it seems.
Yeah, it really does. It looks like we're actually going to see coming into this third round. No more map bans, obviously. QNY does have the map pick, and we will be seeing that shortly. But Vice Versa has opted to sub out their Hunter for Yindi instead of UKJ. So that was their previous Hunter. We are going to see a new one coming shortly when Vice Versa next hunts. So it's definitely something both for us to keep in mind, as well as QNY is going to need to keep that in mind too, because it is a new Hunter with a new skill set, fresh, hasn't just gone through 2 grueling matches. So yeah, but while they pick the maps, we are going to go ahead and show the beautiful intro vid that we have showcasing plays from last tournament as well as who's playing in this tournament. So that's my cue to be quiet.
He didn't miss the trap, it still clipped him. The excitement, not gonna get a hit though! That vault speed just barely saved him.
So man, this forward, bro. Get him!
Here, but ooh,
Great body block on the mercenaries, and we did see that blink come out.
Oh, he's just got the battle for dungeon. Can the Gravekeeper enter the dungeon with the shovel? I'm actually not sure. Oh wow!
Beautiful dungeon escape.
It seems like Priestess had the Priestess wanted to drop in, but little did he know the anti-crit wanted to come in for the harass. That's 1. That's 2.
3.
That's the 3rd one.
Incredible. Not a bad choice, but oh, transitioning to the basement.
Very interesting transition here. Possibly a misstep on the acrobat's part. But oh, and a beautiful flywheel to get out of it. Wow.
That's impressive. That was so cool.
Not gonna chase him. He's gonna chase the prospector, stealing gold that's not his.
He'll be able to kill the batter. Oh, a little bit close there. Wow, that was a really good shot.
Coming in with the body blocks from Psychologist side, it wouldn't be the best considering the fact that Geisha works best, not Geisha, anti-crit works best when solo containing.
I believe the Hunter thought he was pressuring those ciphers, but yeah, just having that in the clutch. But oh,
Whoa, whoa.
That was certainly a bit of an oh wow.
Right.
Beautiful turnaround.
Oh my god.
Just going upstairs, most likely we'll be going down here after the blink.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be a blink here. As long as Death hits this blink, And there's the
Ah.
owl. Very nice owl there, and Priestess is going to survive a little longer.
Okay, it seems that we are now back, and during this break, we have started coming through with some of the picks that we will be seeing. I do believe that we are going to be on Moonlit River Park today.
Yep, that is exactly what it looks like. We are going to see Moonlit River Park coming out, which is a very, I would say it's is it the biggest map? I think it is actually the biggest map that exists in the game. And can definitely change things. I do think, if I'm remembering correctly, uh, I believe it's Yindi who has a breaking wheel. So that could be very interesting to work with. Obviously, QNY did pick the map, but that map might come in handy if QNY doesn't end up banning something like a breaking wheel. That can be utilized very, very smoothly on such a wide open map, and with the speed of the breaking wheel as well.
Absolutely. I mean, Breaking Wheel, I feel like I'm getting so many throwbacks this round. Um, just with Breaking Wheel, I mean, I'm sure most remember when that the Breaking Wheel was every single round, the opera singer of the day. So, wow, it's really interesting to think about how perhaps in a year or two's time we'll be saying, "Remember opera singer?" So, I mean, with the changing meta, it's so interesting. But our global bans this time around will be the Priestess, the Magician, the Seer, and the Forward. So really casting back on those kind of premium survivors available. So it'll be interesting to see who will be picked.
Okay, it actually
And
looks like I may have gotten that backwards. I think it's UKJ hunting instead of Yindi. So that's my bad. I misread
sorry,
the
I
message.
should have also
Oops.
noticed that. So it's our bad. Shaking hands. Um,
I'll
but
quit commentary forever, don't worry.
But the first two bands coming through will be the Mercenary and will be the Antiquarian. Very smart. I mean, out of the when the Priestess and the Seer and all of that's gone, Mercenary and Antiquarian kind of feel like the next best few picks, I would say. So getting those off of the field is not a bad decision at all. Especially with this is the third round. I going to a fourth round is very likely. It can happen, but it's rarely seen. So that really kind of puts them in a position where they just cannot make use of that mercenary, which is going to be frustrating for them here.
And it's definitely going to be hard for QNY to kind of um, build back these points. They're at a 4-point deficit right now. The score is currently, well, the first round was a tie, so I'm not going to count that. We are at 6-2, technically 10-6. Either way you spin it, it is 4 points in between the teams, and unless there is a 4-man escape or a 4-man elimination on this side of QNY, that is going to be a bit of a difficult gap to bridge. So there's a lot of pressure coming in here on the side of
Absolutely.
both QNY survivors and on eventually QNY's hunter. But yeah, as you were saying, Joey.
I was going to say potentially if we see the reverse of what happened last round, so a 3-man win both times around, we could be seeing a potential tie situation again, forcing it to a fourth round. But that is a big if, of course. This is a situation that will be difficult to fight for, but is still very possible, very plausible. So we'll see what happens, especially with these two teams being very equally matched in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I feel like what you were saying before, and I guess a topic that has kind of been recurring throughout this matchup and throughout the tournament overall is how do you work with those two bans at the start of each round, or the two picks at the start of each round being banned? And in this situation, it has locked off the priestess on basically her hometown. Obviously, she 99% chance would have been banned coming in here, but it's also it's a ban that UKJ now doesn't have to worry about. So having the priestess just auto locked out there is very, very valuable here for vice versa, and for their success coming into this round. But
Absolutely.
it does look like.
Oh, I just said absolutely. I was agreeing with you, Bones.
Sorry. Looks like they're going
But-
to ban Dream Witch and Opera Singer.
Interesting. And I do find that very interesting because Moonlit is not exactly a Dream Witch playground. But of course, I mean, Dream Witch is still a strong hunter. We certainly can't deny that. But Moonlit is not the ideal map for a Dream Witch, so it's interesting to see that be banned here again. I would not be surprised if there's something these guys know that I don't. But Dream Witch, Opera Singer of course makes a lot of sense. But they are going to be locking in Lawyer and Acrobat as their survivors.
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting to see because Dream Witch can be utilized on Moonlit River Park, but it takes so much coordination because the like, I guess, or I want to say aura. That's not the right word, but like the area that Dream Witch has, to kind of keep her followers in is relatively small and even smaller in proportion to a map like Moonlit River Park. So there's less opportunity for that kind of map control that Dream Witch is known for. But yeah, it does look like we are going to see our first two picks coming in here, Lawyer and Acrobat. So yeah, we are going to see that Acrobat coming out here and finally being allowed out to play on the side of QNY. And as well as that Lawyer.
And the Patient will be banned, and the Gravekeeper is going to come out. Interesting, I have to say. Seems that this whole time Gravekeeper has been their rescuer of choice over First Officer, arguably. Going for that Gravekeeper pick when the First Officer is still available to go for. I mean, I guess just clutching at straws here. I mean, if you were to weigh up the two, Gravekeeper's shovel can make him move a bit faster, so potentially on a map that's big like Moonlit, that might be a consideration. But then again, sometimes it all comes down to preference, and they may just have someone who's far more competent on Gravekeeper. So interesting to see that there's been a situation here of the Mercenary and First Officer being banned when maybe they should have been banning the Gravekeeper if they wanted to narrow down rescuers, but who knows? I mean, obviously not many people do ban the Gravekeeper, but it's interesting to see that Gravekeeper is kind of their rescuer of choice after Mercenary all along.
Yeah, especially in this kind of day and age where First Officer is at kind of the forefront of those rescuers. It is very interesting to see, but it also, again, it does come down to individual talent with the character above all, and having that, it just, if you have more skill with the Gravekeeper, pick the Gravekeeper.
Yes.
Don't go and kind of start like breaking patterns just to adhere to the meta. So it makes me happy to see the Gravekeeper coming out. We are going to ban the Toy Merchant next, which is, yeah, very understandable with the amount of layers that Moonlit River Park has to work with, and that 2 story with a Toy Merchant in play is terrible on the side of the hunters. So banning Toy Merchant out here, definitely strategic.
Definitely makes a lot of sense. I mean, if she was going to come out anytime, it would have to be now because it's the 3rd round. But still, Moonlit, it's a good Toy Merchant map. So I banned there when there are already so many good characters banned. Hold your horses, Bones. I'm getting there. Toy Merchant. Anyway, I'm just gonna get there. We're gonna have a thief as our 4th pick, which is very interesting. I was just saying that the kind of picks to choose from are really getting narrowed down with the combination of the global bans and the bans chosen by our hunter. We're getting into a situation where something like a Toy Merchant might have been very viable, but in the place of a Toy Merchant ban, we are going to see a thief come onto the table. How are we feeling about that, Bone?
It's very interesting. I mean, obviously the Antiquarian was banned here. We do have the Forward banned as well, so that is 2 harassers off the table. But Prospector was still open. I suppose they did pick Gravekeeper as their rescuer, but they could have still gone with a coordinator because her decoding debuff only really kicks in once somebody's shared. Ideally, you don't have anybody on the chair. Enchantress was open. There's basically the thing with Thief. The thing with Thief is that there's other options that don't require running backwards for the entirety of the match.
Yes.
So I mean, if QNY's players are confident in their ability to do that, then by all means. But there's just other stunners that are still equally, if not more effective, while not basically nerfing yourself in the process.
I mean,
But
but
you know, I mean,
I will point
Hmm?
back to what we just said, which was that even if even meta be damned, you should go with in certain situations who you feel most confident on. And in this situation, I will to assume that there is someone on QNY that feels very confident in their thief. Perhaps, I mean, obviously you might start expecting to see the Prospector here. For example, Prospector is obviously a very strong stunner, even an Enchantress perhaps. But I mean, again, if you are not confident on that character, you can be shooting yourself in the foot just for the sake of, well, this is the more conventional pick. So I guess we're looking at someone who is confident in that thief.
Yeah, I suppose that is the case here. It looks like we are going to be looking at, I would assume everyone has borrowed time in this situation. We're going to see the Acrobat with Broken Windows, Gravekeeper with Tide Turner, Thief with Flywheel, and we are just waiting for that final persona reveal. For the... Okay, there we go. Lawyer is going to be on Broken Windows, and I'm, again, assuming that everybody has borrowed time, unless otherwise. But, I mean, it would make sense if everybody's bringing borrowed time here. They definitely do want to go with a little bit more of a, I guess, safe route. Even if, you know, I feel like Lawyer could probably afford to bring no borrowed time, just because of the amount of distance that he can already break, but however it goes, we are going to see our Hunter locked in here very shortly, and I am definitely interested to see what Vice Versa decides to come out with here. We do have the Dream Witch and Opera Singer band, which does leave out the Opera Singer, but it's not Opera Singer's strongest map. Moonlight River Park is actually generally picked as a first round counter map to Opera Singer, but this is a little gift to me. We're going to be seeing a Hermit. Finally.
We're going to be seeing a Hermit. I'm very, very exciting. Love some Hermit gameplay because just how almost unpredictable it can become, because he is a hunter. I like to call them the snowball hunters, where the match can snowball either way. In terms of it can suddenly become a winning situation or suddenly a situation depending on how things go. And it really can be fun in that situation where he's rarely it makes a sense to see him coming out this stage where a win is desired here. Win is wanted and needed in the situation to secure that lead. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense to see him come out here, but
Yeah, I'm, you know, I don't know if I was spotted in chat earlier, mourning the loss of Enderton's Hermit in the DN versus AT match. I almost said ACT. Their acronym is AT. But yeah, I enjoy Hermit gameplay very, very much, because, you know, as you were saying, it is so snowballing. Literally one mistake on either the survivor and the hunter side, and it can just swing entirely in one direction. And it's so much fun to watch matches like that. It's very, very rare to see a Hermit match end in a draw. It's possible. The last time I said that, it was in a tournament match that did end up with a draw for the Hermit. But
of course,
yeah,
I mean,
it's
we
very
call
one or
Bloody
the other.
Queen the tie queen, but she doesn't only get ties. It's kind of what is expected and what's common, but like obviously other results are very possible. But yeah, exactly as you say.
Yeah, it looks like I think we're waiting for the map to get fixed here, so that it's not ever sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are on Moonlit River Park, though ever sleeping is a pretty good map for the Hermit, so I guess this
I
would
mean,
be
no
kind of
hermits will be
a
complaining
buff. But okay, yeah, here we go. Heading on to Moonlit River Park, a trip to the carnival.
A trip to the carnival. When no members of the
Yeah.
carnival get to join, Acrobat was banned immediately.
That's unfortunate, but I think he'll live.
I'm sure he'll get over
something
it. Yeah.
something that is interesting though is, again, you know, the pick of the thief over the something like an enchantress. Obviously, I would say that they weren't expecting a hermit.
That's
Especially
very
since
true.
there are, yeah, it wasn't as if the bands kind of pointed to anything that was like hermit specific.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the picks as well don't reflect a hermit expectation. But the enchantress, you know, we saw her banned specifically for a hermit earlier.
Yes.
And she can be a very effective counter just because all of that shared damage instant stuns. So she can be
Yeah.
very helpful in that situation. But I'm interested to see
So-
how the thief holds up.
Yeah, we are seeing some spawn picks coming through here. Obviously, rightfully making of the first stop and the 2-story. Interestingly, no one seems to be in a position to turn off that second stop immediately. Perhaps, if anything, the Gravekeeper may be able to get there, but that all depends. We'll be seeing what happens and who will be that first kite. Gravekeeper and Acrobat seem to be in positions to potentially take that. Maybe even the lawyer, the Hermit, has kind of placed himself in a position where he could potentially go after any of them, but we will be seeing that very shortly. We are now going into our third round. I'm Joey, and that thing over here with me is Bones, and we will be seeing QNY versus vice versa for their final round and match 1.
What we hope is their final round.
Well,
we
yes.
could. Anything can happen. Round 4 is certainly possible, but
I do
we
apologize.
will see.
I do apologize.
We're going to see those ciphers were connected right away, and we are going to see the Acrobat taking this first chase here right into the God Kite, a very, very strong area on this map, and does have the entire 2-story to work with. And those survivors are getting hard at work on their decoding. It looks like both the Gravekeeper and the Lawyer have picked up a charge. The Thief is actually on an unconnected cipher though, so will not be picking up a charge just yet. But it does look like Hermit is preparing for that by using a blue stun, and it also looks like, all right, yeah, we have brought Insolence in here, and we are going to be seeing, wow, beautiful work there.
Absolutely expertly done.
Yeah. Disconnecting the ciphers there meant that the other survivors weren't able to change their polarity, so there was no hope of sharing that damage amongst themselves and extending the Acrobat's kite. Using the blue charge made it so that the stuns did not match up, therefore, again, no shared damage, and just beautiful usage of that insolence of the Miracle Ball being thrown there, and just, wow, beautiful control there from UKJ, and starting this match off very, very strongly, and immediately those ciphers are going to be reconnected, and disrupting that decoding even further.
Just very impressive, as you say. I mean, it felt almost just like methodical, like following some kind of playbook. I mean, everything went exactly as you can imagine UKJ hoped it would go, and we are going to see, I feel, the Gravekeeper coming in, sort of hanging back. He knows he's going to get there after half, but the danger of this is that, of course, UKJ as a Hermit is going to have stuns to potentially delay this rescue, but there is no charge on Gravekeeper right now, so should be able to get Acrobat off the chair, and that does happen nicely. The Acrobat is now rescued, but after half, with Tide, of course, but we are going to see that the sort of the ball stun thrown very, very, very well aimed, and stunned again. This is not a Hermit to take light off, Bones. Very, very just knows exactly how to use all of these stuns. Where just when to connect the ciphers. It's a lot of attention to detail, I would say, in terms of just not neglecting any part of his kit at any given moment, and we are going to see that Acrobat blasting off.
Yeah, we do have 2 ciphers remaining, so definitely a lot of cipher rush was able to be done with all of that disconnecting, reconnecting. It did kind of hinder the progress or the cipher disruption, I would say. But a beautiful long jump there. But there aren't any survivors on this side of the map, so we're kind of just searching them out. All of them do have charges, so they all have been decoding. Unfortunately, they are not decoding right now, so none of those ciphers are shaking. So it really just is going to be a matter of finding a survivor as soon as possible, specifically before the Gravekeeper is able to be healed. It looks like we may be heading in the right direction to intercept that.
We
But
are
okay, we
indeed.
do have tinnitus.
Yes, they are healing just outside of that two-story, it would seem. And there we are, but just about able to heal in time. But he is stunned out of the the shovel. Fortunately, shared damage across the board there, so not taking very much of it. But that was a waste of a shovel, which is very unfortunate for our Gravekeeper in terms of using up those resources. Another hit already made there with our thief decoding as well, but the lawyer not able to really get on a cipher just yet. So the ciphers are really being pressured here, especially with the ciphers all connected as they are. This cipher rush is kind of being stopped in its tracks.
Yeah, just absolutely beautiful control here from UKJ, just continuing to control this match. But Lawyer is also taking full advantage of that speed boost, able to just get right over into this area, avoiding being hit for as long as possible. The thing here is that all of them have... It does look like Gravekeeper will be able to change that polarity, but no, was not on a cipher. Oh no, was on a cipher, just wasn't able to switch it in time. We're just going to teleport immediately over to... Is that... Okay, no, that is the Gravekeeper. Who is already injured here. So just the map control here is incredible. And oh, both the Thief and the Gravekeeper are going to go down with that hit because of the shared damage. That is going to put another spike in that decoding progress. Just the... you know, as I keep saying, as you were saying before, Joey, the just going through this so methodically, just absolutely beautiful control of both the character and of this match itself.
So we will most likely be seeing this thief using the tool there, which could potentially become difficult later. We'll see. It obviously depends on how the match goes. But the lawyer is, of course, being forced into a situation where if he doesn't rescue, then who will in this situation? If he does manage to get a rescue off, it will be after half now. But there is no shared damage, so unfortunately the thief was not able to pick up any way to share the damage, so the lawyer has just gone straight down. There is one cipher remaining, but with this lawyer getting shared, with the thief having no damage to share between anyone else, this is not looking like the ideal situation, and it seems the hermit is looking to take advantage of that as best he can, because he knows that thief has self-healed. He knows that if he downs that thief, there's really going to be no way out for these people. This really could be a 4K.
And Thief is just kind of running around there, does not... I would say opened a chest but didn't find anything in it, is what we are looking at here. But it doesn't look like we've caught sight of the Thief yet, really just trying to spot him out there. There is a windmill in the way, funnily enough. But Lawyer is just going to continue to stay on that map. A beautiful jump here just to make sure that no one is coming back to his position. But yeah, Thief is kind of in a rock and a hard place right now. Can't decode the cipher where he's running around. It has been connected. He'll pick up a charge and immediately Hermit will know where he is. Lawyer as well does have that self-heal primed, but doesn't want to use it yet. But the Thief does have crows here, is running around over the dungeon, but obviously UKJ knows exactly where he is now.
So unfortunate. I mean, again, methodical. Those ciphers all having the connection is very expertly done, because if you look at the way he's connected on the map, there's some he's kind of just chosen not to connect, but the one he has, I mean, as soon as the thief touched it, his location would have been revealed that way. So of course, I mean, it's no surprise he got crows. He was in a situation where cipher was to be pretty dangerous too. It would have given him the charge as well. So again, that would have also been a problem. But we are going to see the lawyer get up, and he had picked up a syringe, so he is now fully healed, fortunately. So that is going to give him a little bit of a boost, but will it be enough? He is at full health, but he is now going to take a hit. But the damage is shared. The thief has taken some of it, so the lawyer can kite for a while longer. But of course, we are going to see that thief really just kind of very easily going to be down given anything that goes wrong. And of course, he has used his self-heal. So this really is coming down to Lawyer right now. And he has picked up a charge while decoding. But Decipher is at 53%, though it is shared, so it will be going more slowly. Yes, this is just a very gripping match, Bones.
Yeah, we have disconnected the ciphers here, but it looks like Thief... Oh, did Thief get in a locker? Yeah, it does look like Thief did get in a locker to avoid that, polarity. Unfortunately, UKJ reconnecting the ciphers. Lawyer is able to take the coaster here, but we'll see if that second stop was able to be turned off. No, it was not. Lawyer is still going to be on this side of the map. Thief is still going to be self-healing, but wow, that just did not work out for QNY there, trying to get rid of the polarity only to get it back again, and UKJ knows exactly how to keep that polarity going there.
Really just knowing when and when not to as well, kind of throw those polarities out. And there we go, the Lawyer is down.
Wow.
The Thief could do nothing either. That was the end of the match. They had no choice but to surrender, and what a clean Hermit win that was. Just very well done. I mean, they did a lot to try to counter. I mean, they knew to use the locker, as you rightfully and very well done for noticing that as well amidst everything else happening. But just so much that happened there where they did kind of know what to do to counter him, but it just wasn't enough. I feel like, again, a lot of it probably came down to the team comp, because we were saying this wasn't a particularly strong countering team comp for up against a Hermit. So I feel like that kind of came into play here. They didn't really have much to use, particularly up against a Hermit. But with that 4K, we are going to see that Vice Versa have won. This will not be going to another match. Vice Versa have won this matchup overall. So very good, big congratulations to them. Congratulations to both teams. This was a tough matchup. We could see it very plainly with the fact they got a draw, drawing equally in that first round. They really sort of just kept each other on their toes, and some really brilliant plays throughout. So congratulations to both teams.
Yeah, and yeah, we're not going to another match because right now the points are sitting at 15-6, so it is not going to be possible for that point differential to be made up and enabling a round 4. So yeah, unfortunately, that is going to mean the end of this matchup. But what a beautiful final match there. I genuinely, I don't think I've seen a Hermit that's played in that way. And there's a lot of different Hermit strategies. Sometimes they're a little bit predictable, but that was I've never seen a Hermit played like that.
No, it's
with that level
bold.
of control.
It's bold to disconnect the ciphers entirely, but it works, and it was great to see that be utilized in that way when you don't often see it like that, as you say. I mean, it was so smooth. It was so just like you could see the knowledge of the character there, the knowledge of how long the cooldowns are, when you can afford to do something, when you can't afford something. It was just really admirable. So congratulations to UKJ for just giving us a real show of how it's meant to be done with a Hermit.
And yeah, that is going to be the end of the stream. So thank you guys all for coming. I love seeing familiar faces in the chat, as well as some players that I recognize. And yeah, thank you guys all for coming out to support both the teams as well as us and this tournament overall. We will be back next weekend for more matches. We are in the round robin stage of the tournament, which means that all of the teams all of the teams have been divided into brackets. Those brackets will be playing each other, and then we will move on to the main stage. So a lot of really, really exciting things in store here for this tournament, as well as for the teams that are playing. And it's not over yet for QNY. I think that is the most important thing to say. It's not over yet. They still have one more match to play in the round robin stage of the tournament in order to increase their standing. So we will be seeing them again. And yeah, GG's very, very well played on both sides here. And yeah, just so much fun to commentate for. And it was also very, very lovely to commentate with you again, Joey.
Of course, I was going to say it's so great to be back. It's so great to be commentating again. It's so much fun. It's so great to be commentating with Bones, even though I tend to be very rude to you at times. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun, and obviously the teams make it what it is, make it as fun as it is, but also to everyone organizing, everyone scenes. So shout out to Ali for putting this all together. Shout out to, of course, the moderators, who you don't really hear a peep out of during the thing, but they are there keeping things running smoothly. So a shout out to them too, and also to the coaches of the teams, who also keep things going behind the scenes. There's a lot that goes into even just a little indie tournament like this. So really big shout out to absolutely everyone keeping this going. It's been a lot of fun.
And yeah, if you want to see more of my commentary, shameless plug, I do have a Twitch channel, which is also 206 Bones with 2 underscores because every other version was taken. But you can check out more of my commentary there. I also have some of my commentary streams that I've uploaded to YouTube. I'm trying to upload more and be better about that. But yeah.
And you never know, maybe you'll
link it in
see
the
me there
chat.
if Bones ever decides to invite me.
I have, in fact, extended that invitation, so...
I don't actually remember you doing that, so, anyway. But...
I'm going to link my Twitch real quick. I should have streams on there that you guys can watch if you like to hear my voice. I also have... There are streams with other people on there as well, so... it's not just me all the time, but most of the time it is. I've been doing a lot of stuff with, IVL, IJL... and watching overseas tournaments, which is really, really fun, and I would 100% recommend that you guys do that. Even if you don't want to listen to me, it's all on YouTube, and you can find it very easily by searching up IVL or IJL, and it makes it more fun to watch these NAU tournaments because it's such a different atmosphere, and it's such a different situation, because obviously, you know, we're doing this for fun. They actually get paid, so... Well, yeah, but I mean, the difference between a passion project and a job,
it's very true.
It's very interesting to watch, and it's also very interesting to see, you know, how the meta differs. But I could go on for that for ages.
No,
so
I mean,
I'm not going to do that.
To cut Bones' ramblings into a little neat bow, I will say it's 100% true. If you're interested and even been slightly piqued by what you've seen today, and you haven't dipped into looking at the global tournaments from all the different regions of Asia, it's very worthwhile to check it out, because you do learn a lot about the decisions being made, and a lot about which survivors are good where, and different strategies. It's a very valuable thing to look at, so I recommend it absolutely.
That actually reminds me as well, there is a tournament going on Nello Mello's channel, which is a name you might recognize if you've watched any of the official tournaments before with English commentary, and Psyche, I believe, is commentating for some of that. Psyche played today, so shout outs to that. Check it out if you want. But that is a Southeast Asia tournament, so obviously not players that we may necessarily recognize, but commentated by familiar faces. So yeah, if there's not anything else that I should be talking about, I think we can start to wrap things up.
I do believe we can, unless we're held hostage here. I don't know, but I don't think we are.
But yeah, thank you guys all for coming. Thank you, Joey, again for commentating with me. Thank you, Ali, and the entirety of the Checkmate team for keeping these together. Oh, wait, that does remind me, there's one more thing that I wanted to mention. If you caught the stream earlier, you may have seen the controversy of the Fool's Gold pick, as well as the debate of whether Cheerleader and the Novelist rework would be allowed in the tournament. So I do have answers for that. We will be allowing situationally the Novelist rework. I think it is up to the teams playing if that comes up. And if the teams want to allow the Novelist in, then it will be decided on based on whether both teams agree. Other than that, Fool's Gold and the Cheerleader will continue to be banned. It was a bit of a situational pick there for the previous match. Will not be happening again, unfortunately. If you are a fan of Hunter Prospector, then you can see him on your own time. Unfortunately, he will not be reappearing in this tournament.
No.
But yeah, we may be seeing some Novelist.
We may be seeing some
Possibly,
novelists.
if a team decides to
so
pick him.
just will they, won't they? That's the reason you should come back and watch next week.
That
But
definitely is.
I mean, I'm very excited to see how it's going to be used now. He's finally let out of the basement. It's so exciting. But yeah, I believe, as you say, we can wrap this up now. So thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you potentially next week. Potentially isn't us two. You'll definitely see Checkmate next week, but you'll see us sometime soon.
You will see us individually or together some point in the future. But with that, I will be quiet for now. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Joey. Thank you guys for listening to me drag this out for way too long. So
And thank you, Bones.
Unfortunately gonna miss the trap. He didn't miss the trap, it still clipped him. The excitement, not gonna get a hit though! That vault speed just barely saved him.
So man, this boy, bro. Get him!
here, but ooh,
Great body block on the mercenaries, and we did see that blink come out.